So I will now provide some updates and some more details on the clinical development program of Mangoral, our lead candidate. And one important cornerstone with this program is that we are addressing a clear and significant unmet medical need. And it starts with liver metastasis, which is a major challenge within oncology or cancer care. And it's the most common malignant liver lesion. The reason is that many different cancer types tend to develop metastasis in the liver over time, and most commonly colorectal cancer, but also breast cancer, gastric cancer, and lung cancer. And these metastases in the liver is often the cause of death for these patients, not necessarily the primary tumor. So therefore, it's very important with early and accurate detection of liver metastases. And the recommended method there is contrast-enhanced MRI, or magnetic resonance imaging using a contrast agent or an imaging drug. And this is used at several stages of the patient journey. So it's early at diagnosis or detection of the lesions. It's then for the planning of the treatment of the patient, and then subsequently for the follow-up of the patient, which could go on for many, many years. Now, the currently available contrast agents on the market are based on gadolinium, which is a heavy metal. However, patients with impaired kidney function should not receive gadolinium, and the reason is the risk of serious, potentially deadly side effects. So therefore, the regulatory agencies, that's including FDA in the US, but also EMA and the Japanese regulators, have implemented warnings and restrictions. So basically, these patients lack a contrast agent today. The standard of care for these patients is an MRI without a contrast agent. So again, this is the very specific unmet need that we are addressing with Mangoral. So Mangoral is not only advancing the liver imaging, but it's at the same time addressing the unmet need. Mangoral is an oral manganese-based liver-specific contrast agent. And we are specifically targeting the patient with severe renal insufficiency, because these patients are at risk using the currently available contrast agents. And this unmet need is also validated with the orphan drug designation that we have from the FDA. And importantly, our Sparkle, our phase 3 study, is now ongoing. And the scans to the right illustrates how Mangoral works. So to the left, you have an unenhanced liver MRI without a contrast agent. To the right, you have the same patient after administration of Mangoral. So this is a Mangoral enhanced liver MRI. And the liver has taken up Mangoral, and the liver appears bright. However, there's one dark structure on the scan that's not visible without a contrast agent, which is indicated by the red ring. This is a liver metastasis. And this illustrates the importance of using a contrast agent, because now, being detected, this metastasis can also be removed, and that would significantly improve the prognosis for this patient, the chances of survival. This slide illustrates the positioning of Mangoral. So today, patients with normal kidney function can receive gadolinium or gadolinium imaging drugs. However, patients with poor kidney function don't have an imaging drug today. So in the future, tomorrow, Mangoral can address this medical need and fill this empty space. So importantly, we're not competing, Mangoral is not competing against gadolinium, but filling an empty space for these specific patients. And we estimate that roughly 4% of patients that require a liver MRI would fulfill the criteria for severely reduced renal function and would then be addressed by Mangoral. So Mangoral aims to be the standard of care for liver MRI imaging and these patients. And importantly, we are the only liver-specific imaging drug in clinical development today. So we are way ahead of any potential competition. So I mentioned that our phase 3 study, Sparkle, is ongoing. We already have a very strong clinical proof of concept through 6 different phase 1 and phase 2 studies with very consistent results both for efficacy and for safety. And these results were confirmed and repeated by an independent reanalysis by an independent radiologist, an expert reader. And these results showed highly significant results on very important and typical imaging endpoints. In addition, 33% more lesions were detected with Mangoral as compared to without Mangoral. So the strategy for the phase 3 development, as you see to the right on the slide here, is to repeat and verify, confirm this data in a larger study. And for the primary endpoint, we're using lesion visualization, which had very significant results in the phase 2 program. It's lesion visualization, co-primary endpoint is lesion delineation, sharpness of border, and conspicuity, which is contrast compared to background. And given the phase 2 data here, we believe that we have very good chances to have a successful study. This is a global study, up to 200 patients, and importantly, the study design has been agreed and discussed with both FDA and EMA. We're comparing against unenhanced MRI, which is standard of care for these patients today, not another contrast agent, which also increases the chances for success. The follow-up is relatively short for each patient, it's just a few days, which means that we will have the final study result relatively sooner than a conventional phase 3 study. So it's a global study, and the patients are recruited at approximately 40 to 50 clinical sites, and some of them are listed on this slide here, and you can note that these are top institutions. And that means that we also will have the leading expert and the leading opinion leaders involved in the program already now. So we're building a strong relationship with these opinion leaders, and we have a very strong support from them for this program. And we already now are creating awareness about Mangoral through this large clinical study. And we believe that the participation of these experts and these sites validates the unmet medical need that we are addressing with Mangoral. So finally, just a few words about the timeline. We have made very good progress in spite of the challenges associated with the COVID-19. The phase 1 and phase 2 are finalized. And earlier this year, we recruited the first patient in our phase 3 study, Sparkle. We anticipate that the final results will be available second half of 2021, so that's next year. And then we're aiming for a filing early 2022. And then we are ready for the market late 22 or early 23. And the preparation for the market we will hear more about during the next presentation today. So thereby I thank you for the attention.